Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I got a really fun show tonight, although I think all my shows are fun. Today I got two people I consider the champions of the public domain comic world. Um, One has been on here a few times actually. Uh, Artist, Jay Piscopo, known for his Nemoverse comics with Capt'n Eli and Sea Ghost and Thoris and all these great comics. I also have a writer, editor, and a publisher on. He's the publisher of public domain comics, Chris Watts. Let's bring them both on right now. So, hello, Jay. Hello, Chris.
Michael, hello.
Hello. Thank you guys for coming on.
Are you kidding? Thank you.
Before we get started, I just want to drop some ways people can get you this on here. So, comicbookcomics.net for Chris, and the art of Jay Piscopo for Jay on Facebook. Jay also sent me this fantastic link to another Facebook page I didn't know existed, and I just liked it, so I'll be following this and seeing what's going on. And let me just paste it into the comments so everyone can see it. This is the Golden Age comic book heroes, which I am currently looking at on one of my monitors below me here. Everything looks great on there that I was scrolling through.
Well, though we're shamelessly this just so your audience knows that this is like, remember there was a show on Saturday Night Plug Away with Harvey Fierstein. This is what we're going to be plugging every 30 seconds. There's so much stuff to plug here, but what's so funny about this the Golden Age comic book we were just talking about before, I had set it up years ago when I was getting on Facebook originally, and within the community, some people were upset with me, like I was making all these pages to showcase my artwork. It was just my art, but I left it open for other people to put their stuff up. But it was like, if you go to Golden Age comic book, when you go to the first gallery there, that's pretty much a lot of stuff that I just kind of cut my teeth on trying to learn how to draw superheroes from years working, digitally and things like that. And so a lot of those characters in there are stuff Chris and I are working on. There's awesome. But there's mainstream ones. But I think we got like 3,000 people there. So it's a good. I call it it's like fly paper. These pages. Yeah. So and plus it's how else are you gonna put? I mean, you got to toot your own horn, right? So.
Oh, dude, you're at 3,669 people are following.
And that's with no promotion. That's just people going through Facebook and who like Golden Age comics. And that's one of the reasons I love, we'll get to Chris with this. Chris's name is Public Domain Comics. Yes. A lot of people are publishing stuff, but it's like, that's what we're doing. It's like, those are the characters. And it's like, because I've got Nemoverse, and I've got the last Dominion, and the Lost Dominion. Like, nobody knows what we're talking about. This is like, so as the umbrella, it's a great title for the publishing, all the stuff he's doing, and for new stuff to come out. So at least people know what they're going to be getting.
That's great. Now, Jay, you've been on the show, so let's hold off on getting to know you a little bit. Let's get Chris. Tell us a bit about yourself, how you got into public domain comics, writing, editing, the whole thing.
Writing is one of those things I just always have done, but I didn't focus on comics until a couple years ago. A friend of mine were talking about trying to come up with a project, and I had some kind of humorous version of Watchmen kind of imagined. Mm-hmm. And I was just looking for inspiration on characters I was just going to make up my own, and kind of stumbled across the public domain completely on accident. I had a book my sister got me of it was called The Society of Unfortunate Superheroes or something similar to that. Mm-hmm. And find it, and we can plug him, whoever wrote that book as well. But I was just looking at it and started seeing all these publishers' names, and had already known enough about DC and Marvel's Golden Age stuff that it just occurred to me a lot more publishers than I thought there were. And just familiar with public domain from other things, just literature and music. So I kind of jumped down a Google hole and found it. And I had no idea how many people were doing it when I actually started this company, or I probably wouldn't have gone so direct with the branding just out of pure, politeness. But instead, my clumsy branding, I just, oh, well, that's the brand now. And went with
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying is like, it's not, I don't think it's clumsy at all. I think it's actually brilliant because we want to get to a larger audience, and
Sure.
would have this way. It's up front. We don't have to. We can drum down by showing. I mean, what's going to happen is there's one of these characters and something, or I mean, this is how it works. Is it just will get into consciousness, and then it's good that it's one of the reasons we're working together is we both, the sensibilities of what happened with these older companies and learning the history of this stuff is actually feeding into how we're making things now. So it's good.
I just want to say hi to Mike Wilkie in the audience. Hi, Mike. Thanks for tuning in. So you got into public domain, almost on accident in a way, and you kind of got into these comics, but you fell in love with these characters. What was it about public domain that piqued your interest? That's like, I'm going to work with this.
I've always been a history guy. Always liked the Golden Age comics anyways, and just they weren't sanitized like later Silver Age stuff. It was all over the place. You could tell it was just direct creation. People had no idea what was going to succeed or fail. It was the writers and artists were probably surprised at what did succeed. They were looking at Superman going, well, I don't know why that worked. Let's try this. And all of it, some of it's very silly. You can see almost any character from the modern age imagined ahead of time, 80 years ago.
And before we get to know Jay again, I want to ask you, do you have a favorite public domain character?
I don't know. That's as hard
I teach online, so I keep having too many props here. I had to because we had I got a laugh. So I just wanted to give it this time to think of his favorite 5,000 characters. This is 5,000 of these proven characters, and we have Mr. Bill and Seaghost. Always Seaghost. Your cameras are different here on this thing. Anyway,
they're backwards, I think.
I'm sorry, Chris. Who's your favorite character?
I'm not sure if I have one. I would be just as hard to nail down a licensed character from the bigger companies too for me.
Just say Madam Fatal, okay? That's going to be your go-to.
It's up there.
See? Just say Madam Fatal.
Madam Fatal.
Yeah. See, it makes sense. People have to go look it up now.
We also got in the audience. Hold on, let me get to the page so I can put it up. Christian Aluas says, "Hey guys, I'm going to check out some of those characters on your site now." Yeah, totally look at the stuff. Jay's art is fantastic, and we could talk about that in a moment. Most people will come on here, and last time you were on, I think everyone was just basically praising your art.
Oh, that's why I wanted to come on.
Hey, listen, you're keeping me from becoming completely depressed, and it helps me. You guys, I need it. I say you shouldn't have. Listen, you should not depend on outward, affirmations, but it helps.
Yeah,
and it's in the comic, but you got to understand the comic. I got to tell you a little story. I got to get quickie. Got to give me this. The other morning I went out and I got a coffee, and I'm sitting at this place where you get coffee. They only have one table with one chair at this place. And I'm sitting in front of it, and a fellow goes by, and he's in a wheelchair. He's zooming by, and he just stops where I'm at. I'm drinking the coffee. He looks at me, and he gives me the finger. And so I looked at him. And I went, "Really? I get this all day." He's like, "Hey, I'm just fucking with you." And then he just thinks we can edit that out, children listening. Anyway, and he zooms up. And I can't stop laughing. I think it's like, let's make him king. And should never take yourself too seriously. It's very important. But the comic business, unfortunately, I took myself way too seriously, and what other people said way too seriously for too long with that. And it's like that's why I love seeing the big companies crumble, because it's like it's part of that. It's like you can be like, what am I going to do for a job? Or like, remember me? Remember me? Remember I showed you my portfolio and you said that I stunk? Remember me? You know, because they do. It's the comic business is, you know, I think I've watched it die and reborn 12 times since I've been born. So the new incarnation, I think we're going to have some say on, because, you know, just not to get things off the rails completely again, because I think what Chris is doing is, and one reason I'm working with him is like, just as a segue, I know we're going to bring this up anyway, but Michael Norwitz is a writer I started working with that's working with Chris. And we all kind of we're very different people. We have very similar sensibilities where this material is concerned, and how we use it and how to choose, or we want to make it relevant. And that's, I think, why I feel very excited about to be able to be a part of this team.
That's great. You kind of gave us a little bit about you already.
Well, that's what I was hoping to do.
Yeah, no. I was going to say, I mean, do you want to just tell us a little bit about, you know, obviously, I'm going to show publicdomaincomics.net in a little bit. It's, you know, the cover page is your work. So we're going to take a look. Can you talk about...
We'll start with a poster. So what's interesting about what we're doing is Chris and I have some... I think we're doing something that's kind of historic, which I think we sent you some stuff. Why don't I start with that, and then we can move around all the other moving parts. But the big thing here is we're going to be launching a site called Heroes for Heroes.
Okay.
And this is going to be on Indiegogo. It's going to be a store with larger numbers of products, but the initial project and product of this store is philanthropic, and the idea is that we will be introducing in 4 public domain superheroes done in the Mego format. Their Megos will be produced and created by Paul Clark, Dr. Mego, who is basically kept the Mego brand alive for decades until Mego decided to rebirth itself. And he's a key player and consultant with the Mego company now, making toys. And of the 4 characters we're doing, 2 of them we'd already issued years ago with Nemo toys that had done pretty well. One was the Black Bat and the Red Panther. And we got Airboy, and a character that I started working with Michael on, Michael Norwitz, was the Weekender. And so what the hope is that there's only 100 of each, and we're starting them. They're custom. They're going to be, you know, signed and the whole bit, collectibles. And we have, you know, for years I've been working with a real kind of hardcore Mego action figure collector audience through Paul and you know, Commander X stuff, which, by the way, we're going to be Commander X is really tied into. It was one of my launching points for using public domain characters, and so this is one of the things that Chris will be doing, is republishing all that stuff, all that Commander X stuff, and new stuff around Commander X, because we'll be doing some new Commander X figures, part of Heroes for Heroes. But the whole idea is that the collectors will buy these figures, and the profits will go back to the Heroes Initiative.
Okay.
And we have Brian Augustin on board as, I thought it would be important to have a consultant and, you know, I don't know if I'm sort of a watchdog, but someone who would be responsible as if things took off. I mean, it's very limited in what we're doing now, but if things took off and fans wanted to support this and became a larger thing, I think having him in place and also keeping an eye on this and also giving his blessing to it, I thought was really important, mainly because he's been a contributor and a recipient of the Heroes Initiative.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know what the Heroes Initiative is, it's when, you know, comic book people, artists, writers, editors, you know, people who have moved on or, you know, in some dire straits and need some medical or financial help, they go to the Heroes Initiative. And it's just a great charity to help out a lot of people that could not benefit from the work for hire situation of comics as it was. So it's kind of also the irony of it, of using these characters which are public domain, and now repurposing them to somehow be used as a charity for the very people that created the kind of stuff, to me is like bigger than all of us if it takes off. And we kind of built it that way. I mean, initially we got this stuff where, I mean, we're going to be selling other stuff for profit that'll be connected to it.
Yeah.
But the Heroes for Heroes project is, its intention and hope is to be philanthropic, and that in a way, what I love about it is the collector and the ordinary. I mean, it brings in all kinds of people because they want a real conversation piece and a real rare, weird kind of figure.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to provide it, and then what do you know? We're going to show you some reprint work and new work with these characters, and it's just a great. If people are bored with what the corporate world is kind of rechurning out, you know, like God bless Spider-Gwen, but come on, you know what I mean? It's like there's only so, you know, now we have, it's like Pokemon. We literally have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of maybe, if we go further enough with this, but at least hundreds and hundreds of new characters. Yeah. Characters that have interesting provenances, characters that were created by Jack Kirby or Bill Everett. You know, we've got some interesting, or, you know, Sid Glanzman and all that kind of stuff. There's really interesting characters. And I think Michael touched, and I'm going to shut up in a second. Chris touched on it before, was because they didn't know what they were doing, these storylines get really cool in places and get kind of emotional and get kind of, you know, surreal in places. Just a quick plug before I shut up, and we'll talk about it later, is a book I just worked on called Uncle Sam versus Cthulhu. Scott Harris just came out. And I'll tell you, when I got the script, the way I've been, my elevator pitches, it's Franz Kafka meets Frank Capra.
Interesting.
And it is because there's this charming love story in it, and it's very 30s, you know, very World War II era kind of sensibility and how the story's written. And then it's Cthulhu's in there, and we're going. It's really quite interesting. It helped. This is why I love collaborating. When you collaborate with great people, they make you better, you know. Yeah. And when I got the script, I was very lucky to work with Scott on that, because, and this is why I'm very lucky again working with Chris, is we have the same kind of sensibility where we see where the fun is, but we're not just doing pastiche. A lot of people are just, I think, focused on pastiche. We're aware of it and doing it, but I think there's some interesting twists here if people are to give us a chance and take a look at some of the stuff they're going to offer. So I'll shut up and drink tea.
So that was just a lot of information. Just give me a second. While we've been doing this, I've been looking through, you know, through your pages, the comic book, the public domain comics.net.
It's a poster we got. That's our first offering. It was a poster years ago, and Chris was kind enough to market that. And look at this. I'm so jealous. Look what he's got.
Oh, that is nice. I got to get my copy. That is nice, and then just showing the new year. So
we don't have a guide to go with it. We should have a guide so you know who everybody is. But you know, that the half of this is why we did that poster for me was like, to show people that were normies. You know what I mean? That like, hey, look at all you ever see these guys? Like, these predate all your Iron Man. You know, and all. You know,
yeah. It's well. First of all, as I said, I love your art. That's number one. You know, and you know, I see influences. We've talked. I know your influences, and I see them all over the place. But I also just love your composition.
That's right there. Half of that's Photoshop and being able to be digital. Where I was lucky to just. It's a lot of cutting and pasting with that. Where that's a cheat. That poster.
It's okay. I do that all the time too. I think we all do.
Yeah, well, what's funny is there's some posters, there's less cheats than others. Mm-hmm. But there was a great line Alex Toth had, to make it so simple that you can't cheat. And usually that's the best compositions. When you're not cheating, that's when your compositions are
now
worthy.
Let me ask you this, and then I'm going to, we'll get to Chris, because, you know, we need him to talk to tonight.
I know, and I'm just going to shut up. I'm excited.
It's okay, dude.
We're excited to work, right, Chris?
I know.
And I'll interact with Chris too. Okay.
No,
So,
it's okay. It's okay, man. I was just joking with you. You know that. I wanted to ask you, for those who aren't too familiar with public domain, obviously, for those who don't know, public domain are basically characters that lost their copyright at some point and now are open to anyone to use. How close in your designs do you keep to like traditional costuming or color schemes? How how close is this? So if somebody said, like, okay, for example, for those who don't know, this guy right here is Captain Battle. Now I noticed you added some like shoulder pads and stuff too.
Sunspot. Did we get a sunspot?
I think Chris might have froze.
Okay. No.
Okay.
Slow.
Oh, he was just really
I
into it.
froze in real life. I'm okay.
Okay. Okay. Like,
it's hot out, so the fact you're freezing.
Oh my God, it's disgusting.
You got a heat wave.
Yeah. So like I said here, I noticed with Captain Battle, he gave him shoulder pads. Not much of a big change on him. How much change?
Oh, there's some big changes in it. No, there's some changes there. I gave him the sexy astronaut outfit. He's an astronaut now.
It's hard to see from this angle.
No, I think that's a great question, because we, of course, every artist approaches his characters with their own. See, it's a case-by-case basis where I'll give you an example of where it's very subtle, but I love it, is that Pyroman, which he's the guy from Nador. He's all in red with a purple cowl.
Yeah, I'm looking all over the place here.
And he's in the poster. He's the guy up by he's right under the chin of the Green Giant.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, and that's an Alex Toth ripoff. The swipe, that pose that Pyroman is in, is from a Hawkman model sheet from Super Friends.
I could see that, yeah.
I reveal my secrets, I will reveal all my secrets. Because I mean, that's the thing, is I can draw. So it's like when I rip stuff off, it's important. That's the whole point of comics. Is like there's another page on Facebook called Comic Swipes, which I think is like a CIA psyops, to be honest with you, because they use all sorts of stuff beyond comics to show you how everything is derivative from something else. So check out Comic Swipes if you've not. Some major dignitaries in the comic industry show up on there, and it's I think it's CIA psyops. But anyway, so I already said that twice. But anyway, I enhanced the Pyroman's costume in that I love Pyroman because he's falsely accused of a murder and he's brought to the electric chair. And I think there was an 80s horror movie called Shocker or something like that, where a guy gets zapped and then he comes back alive as a monster. So they kind of ripped off Pyroman but made a monster movie out of it. And they got me as like a psycho killer kind of movie. Yeah. In Pyroman's case, he forgives everybody and becomes a crime fighter, which I think is great. So, but what he does this is the thing. He wears this cowl neck. It has a cowl neck. Mm-hmm. And they got rid of, and it's not, he doesn't always have the cowl neck. It was in some of the interpreting, he's got the cowl neck. So I was like, you know what? That's the shroud. It's sort of like, Lone Ranger, how he makes the mask out of his vest. Yeah. Like those are key, or Superman's mother sewed his costume. That's the stuff, Martha. That's the stuff that I love. So giving that cowl, that crazy, it explains. He took the hood from being electrocuted and made that into his mask. So that to me is a good example of how I approach this stuff. And then back to Captain Battle's sexy astronaut, sexy 60s astronaut, secret agent / I mean, it's Nick Fury. I mean, we're playing off Steranko Nick Fury a little bit. So,
it's funny. Go ahead. Sorry, no, go ahead. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like saying when you look at the poster, there's definitely characters where there's slight modifications to full-on redos. Like Lady Luck, that character, the green woman flying there. I love the veil she's wearing, but I gave it with a hood and got rid of the bolero hat, but I use that later. And I love Lady Luck. I use her in so many different, costume changes. Some characters like the Bronze Terror is like, why change him? It's really
yeah.
Catman, I do change. Like I call him the Bengal. I've tried to. Catman has been a
right down here, right?
Yeah, Catman is one of those characters that's always been nagging at me because I think Red Panther became. I was dying to make a Catman, and we still may make a Catman figure. We just don't. Unfortunately, Dr. Miyagi doesn't have any orange leotards, or if we did, we'd have one. But the Red Panther came from that. But yeah, Catman, I've always been frustrated with because the costume is so bad. But the artwork is, and Christopher, I can segue to you. The artwork's beautiful from Captain. Yeah. The guy who created it, and especially his action scenes are just.
I'll take a look. I don't know if I've ever read any Catman comics.
Oh, you're missing out, my friend. See, that's why
I gotta look around.
You gotta go to Public Domain Comics, my friend, and pick up
the
Catman collection because. Yeah, no, it's like a kitten ran around with a machine gun, with a Tommy gun.
Wow.
Right, Chris? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in the action scenes, the artwork is that's the thing about the Golden Age is that nobody knew what they were doing, and they were copying and ripping off the newspaper comics. That's why Alex Raymond was basically being traced by Shelley Moldoff and people like that. Mm-hmm. But you got these people like that guy. Who did Catman? I forget his name.
Charles Quinlan, I think, did the
Quinlan.
And then L.B. Cole did a whole bunch of covers that they're infamous for how good the covers.
Quinlan, thank you, Quinlan. You nailed it. Well, thank you, Chris. Quinlan. No, it's like 10 grand, 10,000 boys. No, it's yeah. Quinlan is the guy. Yeah, and when you look at particularly the thing I noticed about Quinlan was his action scenes are great. The fight scenes, the action scenes, and Simon and Kirby were so famous for having those explosive pages. But he's on his own. Quinlan's got those Catman books are great. And Cole, we can talk forever about Cole.
Wow, I'm gonna have to definitely check those out because I have what's the site? I think you mentioned it that you can read all these public domain books.
Oh, the Digital Comics Museum.
Digital Comics Museum, that's right.
Sure, but I would suggest you buy our books.
I could do that as well.
Because we've aggregated for you.
Okay, so if we go to shop on the website.
Yeah, there's two things you're going to get from the Chris and I collaborating is you're going to get some really good aggregates of this stuff with some new material, and then you're going to get some whole new material that's going to spawn from it. So I think we're going to, and all the folks that are in this game, we've got some flavors of things, and I'm proud to be under Chris's umbrella.
This is great. I mean, just a lot of great titles here.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love the Blue Beetle stuff? And
yeah, and the thing is, we're comic book geeks of a certain age. Frankly, this is getting this is the only thing that's really keeping my juices flowing when it comes to comics. I think maybe we talked about it in one time we did some personal interview stuff. But I think, maybe Chris, I'm sure, is aware of this, but the Steranko History of Comics was my introduction to these like Green Llama I had never seen before until I saw the Steranko History of Comics when I was in high school.
Yeah.
In the 70s. And the Golden Age was so key to keeping. I'm fascinated by the Black Adam movie coming out with Dr. Fate, played by Pierce Brosnan.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I'm fascinated by the Shazam movie, which drives me nuts because Chris and I are going to be doing. We're going to use those characters as much as we can within what we can use legally.
Yeah.
But there's a ceiling to that because of that movie. having him meet the 7 deadly sins. I mean, finally somebody woke up and saw what a brilliant creation Captain Marvel is.
Yeah.
You know, Shazam.
No, you can still call him Captain Marvel. You know, it's.
I do.
Yeah, I do too. That's the way I like him. I love all that work from the original stuff. I have like trades of copies of those. I go back and look through them all the time.
It was the most Fawcett Comics, and what Fawcett Comics did as a whole, as a company, and Captain Marvel. People forget how popular it was, and it really set the standard for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and go back and look at the Captain Marvel books of that era way more readable than going back and reading a Superman book from that era.
Oh yeah, definitely. Completely.
The stories are harsh, just incredibly horrible to slog through, and the artwork. The horrible thing about Superman with that stuff is it's the most claustrophobic artwork I've ever seen in my life is old Superman. So till you get to Wayne Boring, like I love Wayne Boring.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's got Boring as his last name, but he isn't Boring. I mean, but there's so much of that Golden Age Superman stuff is just tough to look at.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have some of those too somewhere. I don't know where anything is in my studio anymore. But yeah, I got a lot of those things. I love looking at them. Even I even enjoy looking at the old Superman. I know you're right. It is a very tight.
Well, I look at Schuster. I look at Siegel and Schuster. I go back and the dailies. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, I know I have a collection of dailies. But yeah, no, they're gorgeous stuff. But it was a completely different character, completely different. I want to say even a bit of a different time when the characters were created. Already when Captain Marvel came out, Superman was around for how many years now? Like, wasn't it at least like 5 years or something?
2.
Around 2 was?
Yeah, it was pretty close. It was when they did Wiz. Yeah, Wiz was maybe it was 1 or 2 years. It wasn't that much time.
Oh, okay. I thought it was longer.
No. After when Superman came out, I think it was Batman was like what, like 6 months or something after that.
Something like that, yeah.
You cannot. Oh, by the way, I was just watching The Last Detail with Jack Nicholson, and he toasts the Human Torch, and even mentions Toro.
Really?
It's one of my favorite movies. I forget, he says, "I'd like to make a toast to Superman, Batman, and the Human Torch." And it's Randy Quaid's first movie. And Randy Quaid says, "Who's the Human Torch?" He throws the fireballs. He had a little guy just like him. It's great. It's Last Detail, great movie. But Human Torch and Submariner, we forget. That's why I love that Steranko cover. Is that you took a snapshot of what Superman did. Superman, it was like a dam breaking. Mm-hmm. But then these other characters came out that were way more appealing than Superman.
Yeah.
That kind of really got things going. And we're the recipients of some of that stuff. Where we go back and we look at Iron Skull. Like Iron Skull's like right in the middle of that poster. Yeah. Iron Skull and Man-O-War, I kind of mixed up and played with a little bit. I love both of those characters because they fit into the Gene Roddenberry concept called the Questor tapes. That I think because go look that up. The Questor tapes.
Questor tapes. Okay.
Yep, it was going to be a pilot for a series, a Gene Roddenberry series about an android that was built by aliens. That's been here. It combined Chariots of the Gods with Blade Runner. I mean, it was way ahead of its time.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's why android characters, the Man-O-War, which we're going to do a collection of, is Man-O-War is a Burgos character, Human Torch's creator, and he liked androids. He was into android heroes. So that's that's what we're looking for here with some of this stuff. Who knows? Man-O-War could have. I mean, not to blow wind up my own skirt, but I like what we're doing with Man-O-War. Man-O-War is the kind of book I want to buy. Yeah, it's the kind of character I want to see developed, and also Iron Skull, same kind of idea. There's a creepy. What I like about it is they could look like villains, in the Silver Age, almost the way they're designed. But so I like that, and I like the Warren books. I like the a creepy hero.
Yeah.
I think the Iron Skull was a Burgos character too. No,
Is who?
was Iron Skull a Carl Burgos character as well?
I forget. I know Manowar definitely.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if Burgos did because Iron Skull kind of changed from like the version I'm using is when he went full superhero look. But when he started out, he was just a guy in a suit with a really horrible face. You know, he had this googly eye thing going on. But
yes, he was. That's why we have Google.
yes, because Barney Google. And Bernie, everyone forgets Barney Google.
Oh no, I don't forget. I read it almost daily.
Speaking of which, you know the word Jeep. You know where that came from, right?
Yes, I do.
From Popeye.
From Popeye, Eugene the Jeep there.
And the reason they called it Jeep a Jeep was when the GIs saw a Jeep for the first time. The character, was a jungle character that could go anywhere or phase in. Could travel anywhere, kind of thing. So it's like. This period of time, that's why it's so fertile.
Yeah.
For us to not do our own thing, but, we're doing our own. Oh, I'm just getting this purple zombie in there. That's Tarp Mills. He's a woman creator. It's just, when you start getting deeper into this stuff, it's why it's so weird and nobody knew what they were doing. And the big companies are doing exactly what we're doing. Is you have these big stables of characters, and someone would say, "Listen, we haven't used Martian Manhunter in a long time." I mean, I went through this period where I remember when I was a kid, I kept seeing reprints of Martian Manhunter. Who's Martian Manhunter? I had no idea who Martian Manhunter. It kept showing up in little places and stuff, and then look how we had a revival and became such a huge. That's how this is how the game's played. Is we may have we might like a Manowar book or series.
Well, I do have your book. Do I have it on my computer? I have a digital copy of your book. What was it? The Heroes Unbound or something?
Well, Heroes Unleashed. Yeah, and that's again, that's Chris is basically taking all that stuff. I'm giving all to him to repurpose. So we're going to expand on.
I don't think I have it on this computer here. I might have taken it off for space. I'm just looking real quick. Let's see here. Yeah, no, I don't have them on here right now. But we could have looked through that. I remember you have a Manowar story in there.
Yeah, it's a kickoff to do. We're going to repurpose that with reprints because it's basically an embellishment of the origin. And the origin is more backstory. And then we go forward in time to kind of update the characters. So, and I've got some work that I've been working. I've been through so many weird ups and downs. I have some stuff on, that Chris and I are going to develop as new stuff. Let's call it just new stuff, but it's all bounced off of all of this and is all connected to his origin, the reprint work. Secondary characters like the Red Cross that are in there. He even gets plastic surgery at one point. Looks more human. This is all we've integrated in very much as if we were Silver Age editors and Silver Age creators. Kind of the same kind of sensibility with Manowar.
No, it's a very, very smart concept. Now, are you and Chris able to talk about any of the specific projects that you're working on, not just the reprints, but anything like new that you guys can discuss with us?
Yeah, I can let Chris go. We have stuff in the works, but I'll let Chris go. Chris just sent me a bunch of great stuff he's putting together of collection books using some of my stuff.
Yeah, we definitely hope to see more of Manowar and the Blue Scarab and some other characters that popped up in Heroes Unleashed as a first shot. One thing we were talking about doing is releasing those and kind of giving the readers a chance of what do you want to see in number 2, what do you demand a follow-up, to, and let's go from there. But Jay already has tons of ideas already half fleshed out.
Yeah, like with Manowar, what's great about it is I don't have a we don't have number 2 done, but I have a lot of concept work that we can put in a reprint book, where then when people get to it, we get and the sales are there, or it's a first issue special kind of thing, or it shows there's some interest. Then it's like, maybe we can kickstart one. I'm very I'm really happy and proud with what's going on. We just I'm not part of the Kickstarter campaign other than I already drew the book, but with Cthulhu Uncle Sam, we're on the second day and we're almost halfway funded.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you happen to have a link for that I can share?
Yeah, I'll put it in there. It's
put it in the, or
sure.
if you want to drop it in the actual comments, you could drop it in there for everyone.
Yeah, I can do that. Well, I mean, we can stretch and talk and stuff. But yeah, it's okay. I'm on Facebook here, but it's we've got to. It's a business, so we have to look at things from a point of view of demand. The good news is that there's so much material we have here that if we can get our core audiences together and they want to play, we've got plenty of stuff to fill the sandbox with.
Well, let me ask you this. Whoa. I think you have the Facebook open that has me on there or something right now.
Yeah, what I'm doing right now is let me. I'm just getting the link that I'm going to give you in the chat of. That's why I'm kind of. I'll give you the. Oh, come on, please. The. Here we go. This is the Kickstarter for Scott Harris King.
Okay.
It keeps what happens is Facebook keeps making me interact as Golden Age comic book heroes, which it shouldn't. You know what's going on.
Yeah, no, I have that issue with that. I have a bunch of pages too. Let me ask you, while you're getting this together, and
sure.
and Chris, you can answer while he's doing this. What you just said that there's a lot of different demand. How do you know which characters, or how do you choose which characters and say, well, this character's in demand versus this other character, so I'm going to focus on stories with them right now? I mean, with public domain, it's so wide open, so.
Yeah. Some characters, either the majors have used and people know them, or even Dynamite and a couple others have done projects. So there's a little bit of a following for the public domain characters, and there's some that just seem to stand out. Some of them are the Black Terror stands out because he looks similar to the Punisher, and the original Daredevil stands out probably because he was designed by Jack Cole. Really, is some of them just come down to the. Yeah, he did quite a few of the public domain characters. Even
I call the Black Terror the Cadillac of public domain superhero. So I think he's stepping down a little bit in terms of Blue Scarab, which I don't think I'm the only. I think I was one of the first people to call him Blue Scarab instead of Blue Beetle, and when other people call him their own, I don't get pissed or anything. I mean, it's like it's now an alternative now, unless we can trademark it and bully everyone. But no, Blue Scarab, Blue Beetle, I think is now taking the top spot. What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, the character is one of the first that I noticed right away because of just knowing him from DC, and
but I think he's surpassed Black Terror.
Maybe he has that cool old Mystery Man look with the kind of like the Lee Fox Phantom with the weird skull cap and mask, and
I just think again it's a little bit more popular right now.
Yeah.
Well, I've always been a fan. It's funny because I've always been a fan of the Golden and Silver Age characters much more than a lot of the modern stuff. When I look at when I was reading a lot of comics years ago, and I'd go to like DC, let's say, I'd pick up Justice Society over Justice League. Sure. I liked those type of characters all the time. By the way, I'm putting the link to the Kickstarter in the comments, so anyone watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, you could.
I'm glad you mentioned the Justice Society, because the Justice Society book that Brian Augustine edited in the 90s, drawn by Mike Parobeck, who's probably who's a good friend of Brian's and is a big influence on me. I know a lot of people, Darwin Cook has kind of became the preeminent in terms of the animated style, became most well known around that. Of course, working with Bruce Timm. But for me, it's always been Mike Parabek who did it in comics first. And really that using his, I just think was so ahead of his time. And Brian and I have a bunch of projects which are going to be under Chris's umbrella that are finally see this light of day. One of them is working with the Clock, and I know that and I don't know the name yet, but he's going to rename violence. We worked on the character the Raven, but he's going to come up with a whole new concept on that.
I just looked up the Justice Society from the era you were talking about, and I don't know. I might have every single issue of this storyline. I know. I got some trades that they put out with this, so I can pick it up and read whenever I want to. But I'm just looking at the work. I could totally see what you're talking about.
It's my favorite revival of the characters, and I could see us doing something similar where we brought the characters back in middle age and did middle-aged characters. And I think some of the stuff is set up for that, but I would love to get deeper into that.
No, that'd be interesting. I mean, I know, whoever put out like the Archie heroes a few years. I don't know if Archie did it. Another company might have, but they were old. Yeah, they were older characters, and now they had like their kids or something.
And Terra Obscura. I mean, we can talk about some of the more well-known stuff the bigger companies did. The thing most people know for public domain, it's Terra Obscura, which came from Tom Strong, which was a big one for me, seeing the Nador characters. And Alan Moore is a massive influence for me, and I think was one of the greatest series ever done is Tom Strong.
Yeah.
And then Dynamite, we know of, has this kind of stuff. They tend to be giving when they bring back, like they'll bring back the sidekicks and they're grown up and everything's kinky or everything's got too many adult things. There's all sorts of adult themes going on and stuff. Yeah. Where that Brian's Justice Society is a little more same. There's adult themes going on, but the wonder of it, like showing that energy of the Golden Age, and also having a hero that's experienced with a lot of heart, determines a lot with the outcome of the situation. So it's not just flubberty flu. There's some good storytelling, and it's what we like about these characters anyway, is that they're exceptional. They're doing the right thing. We can, and they're human and they'll have flaws, and we'll make things exciting from that point of view. But it's like the whole reason we're into this is to show an idea, how to be your best self. Yeah, and that stuff. A lot of that came out through this work.
Yeah, and that's interesting to say, because comics, like you said, comics change, and a lot of comics these days, at least in mainstream, and I don't like to knock things, but I feel the heart isn't there in the stories anymore. And that's why I tend to go back and read a lot of Golden and Silver Age stuff. That's what I see in there. And I tend to look at Golden Age more than Silver Age. I know that. I look at Golden, and I'll tell you what. You see the era of, or the society of what we were going through during the different eras of comics. So like the Golden Age, there was a lot of, I felt it was very experimental, because you had a lot of magical-based characters, and then you had these sci-fi people understanding what sci-fi. But when you hit the Silver Age, I felt it really took over more sci-fi than supernatural stuff. So,
are you familiar with the comic book heroes by Jules Pfeiffer?
Comic book. It sounds very familiar.
Was that Golden Age reprint book?
It is, but his commentary, Jules Pfeiffer, is great playwright, great writer, worked with Will Eisner, and the book, it's the great superhero, the great Golden Age superheroes, or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, wait, is it the great comic book superheroes? Is that the one with like Superman on the cover? It's a circle.
Yeah, Superman's on the cover.
Yes.
He also has a print of his first comic book he drew that his friends would trade with regular comic books, but he had to make them a cheaper price than the real ones. But he had, there's a character in there called the Saint or the Ghost or something. It's real. I mean, I'm, you know how I'm obsessed with ghost character. I have ghost this, the ghost that, all that kind of stuff. But what's the commentary, Jules Pfeiffer's commentary in that book about being a kid growing up with those comics and the impact of a character like Plastic Man, you know, and how real this stuff. And by the way, movies were not color. All color for a dime meant something then, in a way. So when you look at some of the artwork, when you go to the Digital Comics Museum, and I see some of these spreads and some of the stuff, there's this exuberance because they're printing in color. They're getting to do what the top guys did, which was the Sunday strips. If you were top and you paid the top and thought of as a, you know, the epitome of a cartoonist, you were making newspaper Sunday strips. So when you see these guys get the opportunity to do something and do one of these, you know, these strange little books and characters, you're getting that energy, and that's I think one of the reasons we're into this so much. That energy is still there, and now we're just trying to channel it. And I agree with you in that. I mean, comics are so diverse now. So probably it's so diverse, and it's interesting how it got so diverse. But look how small it became as a boutique, okay? And part of that for me is not being able to include kids and families. And I see what we're doing as, like, for instance, there's stuff in Heroes Unleashed. Maybe I'm almost at the borderline of PG.
Okay.
Maybe. But I have students, I teach, I have students that are 8 years old that have seen it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I haven't even seen it. And they're 8.
Yeah.
So this is the world we live in. So, but I totally feel like this is the kind of stuff where, and I get, there's, you know, dads, comic book dads, I hear this from. This is the kind of stuff you can share with kids and show, and hey, they maybe hit or miss. They may not be able to get into it. I know somebody who started showing his kid the Batman TV show, and the kids loved it. And I thought, you know, this day and age, it would be sketchy if they would or not. And but no, 8 years old. That's the great thing about that age group, a grade school age group. If you present it the right way and you show your enthusiasm with it, it may be infectious, and they may feel the same.
When I was in grade school, I actually read that book you were just talking about in
Pfeiffer.
3rd or 4th grade. I remember getting that from the school library, and 3rd or 4th grade, first introduction to Plastic Man, The Spirit. Anyone that wasn't, well, Plastic Man was on cartoons actually at that point in the early '80s. Now that I think about it. But definitely want to see The Spirit anywhere, The Spectre before that.
But the origin of Plastic Man, it blew you away, I'm sure, right? Eel O'Brien, he's a gangster, falls into a vat of acid, and then he ends up in a monastery. I mean,
it's fantastic. I found that the first time I read that book, and I didn't read the full book, I live in Yonkers now, but I was living in Mahopac, New York, and near where I am now is Portchester, New York. Or is it Rye that it was in, but there was the Cartoon Museum. And I went around 9 or 10 years old, and I saw they had a Bob Kane exhibit. So I saw like it's the first time I saw comic pages blown up really large. And like, I didn't know this is what they drew. And then I sat down at a table, and that was sitting on the table. I just sat in a chair. And I read like Plastic Man and all these people that just looked that I've never seen before. I mean, I read Superman and Batman's origin. I remember that just because I'd never seen the original. And I just went through as much as I can. And then when I was in high school, that book was in our high school library. And I think I took it out every week for an entire year.
Yeah.
It was
the Strangle book. The librarian said, Jay, bring that book out. They knew where it was.
Yeah. So,
even when it was stolen, I'd steal it, and Jay would bring it back. That's how I learned. You know, Superman's doing this. I learned how to. Right, see, it's with your camera here. Okay, so the
Yeah.
hand. I learned when you look at how he makes a fist with a thumb underneath and the pinky here.
Mhm.
That's how I learned how to draw a fist.
Interesting. Yeah, I
I
think
copied.
I
I copied that.
Yeah.
Over and over. I used to actually copy. I remember when they did the first reprints of Superman where they showed Siegel and Schuster, and I remember copying that because you can see that's why I love Steve Rude's impression of how he draws Superman, because he gives him literally his head is like a wedge, the giant lantern jaw, and body of a steel worker kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
and, it's simplified.
Didn't Steve Rude? Was it him who did the that World's Finest back in the '80s? I think, where it was him and Batman, and
beautiful.
I think that's one of my favorite books I've ever just visually looked at, not just story wise, but just visually.
And it stood out really a lot at that time because Superman they were giving him a mullet at that time. I mean, there was literally, things were going through serious transitional, and then the way he chose to draw Batman was almost unrecognizable.
Yeah.
To what had happened.
Well, what I liked about the way he did Batman. You can't really call Batman's costume a costume. It looked almost more like a uniform that he put on. It was more. It didn't have that costume feel when I'm looking.
He got the golden age. I mean, that's the thing. There was a nice golden age feel to the whole book, even though it was set in modern times. And it's that sort of the Tim Burton-y kind of thing that happened, where Tim Burton managed to blend every decade. So that's why I think the first Batman. That's one of my favorite movies, superhero movies, because Anton first. I mean, the Batmobile and the Gotham City are genius, and then the way, it's very distinctly. The scenes are very '60s. The scenes are very '50s. And the way computer technology is in there, but black and white TVs. It's very, very smart, and it's why I think the Warner Brothers animated stuff is so successful. Is that kind of, I want to call it motifing, where you're just kind of, but every decade is counted for, and it gives an overall pulp sensibility.
Yeah, they were very good at that, definitely. And they kept it throughout all the series that they did, from Batman to Superman to Justice League to Justice League Unlimited. That just feel went everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't really have the time to watch a lot of this stuff, but the ones I caught, the first Batman series, I thought was just a watershed. I was upset. It was just a show at night. I think it was like it was that popular.
I was 10 when it came. 12 when it came out. So I remember waiting before it came out, like sitting in front of the TV the day before. Is it going to be today?
Yeah.
And my wife's knowledge of comics before she met me, at least, was she used to watch it as a young teenager daily, because it was just it was on at 5 and very cinematic.
Yeah, and the scripts are just tight. And the ones about like Mr. Freeze and his wife. I mean, the melodrama off the hook.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like with these kind of stories you want to do. It's called low key drama. So this was low key melodrama. I mean, it was like they really pushed it. And the ones I thought it was, by the time they got to the Superman series, I thought the Superman I adored. See, I love Superman.
Me too.
And Superman, has gone through a lot of crap, and people put it down and go, whatever. But you can see Superman handled well in that animated series. Lex Luthor's a more interesting character than he's ever been portrayed before. There's tearjerker episodes. There's an episode where he goes to a parallel universe where Krypton isn't destroyed and he's got a family. It's like the sun.
That's a Starro episode.
Now there's
a man who has everything. It's a
there's
a
villain. There's a episode of not the Twilight Zone, the Outer Limits, called The Man Who Was Never Born. And that episode of Superman, The Man Who Was Never Born, and I've kind of There's ideas I've had around that for years that are in Commander X, which hopefully I can reveal over time. But it's so unbelievable and melodramatic, that stuff, that you can only tell a story like that in a superhero context. And why the genre, the superhero genre, is this really interesting. It's not science fiction. It's a kind of branch of it, you know. And, you know, it's they really, that Warner Brothers stuff, the writing is the key. You know, they really respected the characters. And
I will say this, with the Superman cartoon they did during that era, that is my favorite interpretation of Kirby characters outside of Kirby drawing them.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know what's so great is these Hollywood types really recognize where the content lied, you know, and they saw, and it's what the editors saw at DC and Marvel was like, look what Kirby did. He's God. He created the multiverse for us to play in.
Yeah.
And the very structure of it for us to play in. And look at the whole, I mean, none of the cinematic universe would exist. Both big company cinematic universes depend on Jack Kirby's overarching mythology.
Yeah.
Both of them. I mean, that should be drummed into everybody.
Yeah. I actually did a video today. I don't know if you guys saw. I'm doing a one-page comic in this guy's book. It's for comic book schools. It's called Creator Connection. They get it's called an 8-page short. It's like 8-page short or whatever. They get a writer, an artist team up. Well, the guy needed an artist for 1 page, and he asked me if I wanted to do it. He's like, "Can you do Kirby style?" And I said, I used to draw pretty much Kirby style for a long time. And then I got more influenced by Alex Toth's work that I started. So like when I draw, I see more Toth in my work. So I did a video to kind of show the character, kind of help promote the book today. And it was how I draw in Kirby style. So I took pictures and broke it down. And I'm just sitting there thinking mostly of what you were just talking about, how, you know, Marvel would not exist the way it does now without Kirby. And the DC characters that I love probably wouldn't even be there. Just you look at Darkseid as a villain for Superman or for whoever, or the Justice League. What stories would have done without Darkseid? You know,
Wars, Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, well,
take them apart. They're Kirby.
Well, yeah, Kirby did a lot of great fantasy illustrations that some people haven't seen before, sci-fi fantasy stuff. That definitely. I mean, he designed Thundar for Ruby Spears.
Yeah, no, but he was one of. Like, Gil Kane had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, no, I know he was part of it too. But
it's interesting to bring that up. It's like, just as a quickie, I think this is funny. I don't know if you know the story, but I think it's from. I think I read this in Alter Ego, and maybe it's Mark Evanier tells the story, but it's the story of Toth meeting Kirby. You know that story?
Really? You know, you might have told it to me once before.
I like telling because I wasn't there and I have nothing to do with it. So it's like hearing a joke in a bar. Because the way I tell it, I mean, I don't think I'm really changing the gist of the story, which is basically when Toth was already out in California, Kirby had moved out there, and then they bumped into each other and said, "Listen, we should get together and have hamburgers." And so they do, and you know, Roz makes the hamburgers, and can you imagine? So they're hanging out all day,
yeah,
and they're talking shop for hours, and Kirby gets back home. I think it's Evanier who's there, his friend. Says, what did you guys talk about? And Kirby goes, I have no idea what he said. I have no idea what he's talking about. And then somebody asked Toth, would you learn about Kirby and how he makes comments? He said, I have no idea. They just taught Greek to each other.
That's hysterical.
What's funny though is we talked about my influences are Kirby, Wood, Toth, Ditko.
Yeah. And
I'm very vocal about that because it's like making a shoe. I want to making a, you know, I'm not going to deny what came before. Everybody has that kind of stuff going on. But those guys really knew how to make a book.
Yeah.
Like from top to bottom, they understood the book. When Kirby would get the finished book, he didn't look at whether he drew wrists perfectly or he drew something accurately. He read the book and how did it read for the next issue. It was about the reading of it, the storytelling of it. And Toth, on the same, his draftsmanship always was about the storytelling.
Yeah.
And then Wood, the thing that's where I try to get my students and younger people is to understand that how mechanical things are in terms of swiping, using references, and this mechanical paste up of how to put this together just to get the book done. Wood is a great example of for years I wouldn't do stuff because I wouldn't retrace. You so-called have integrity or whatever. Like Wood's like, copy it, rip it off, get it done, move on to the next page.
See, I started in music, and if you play guitar with the idea of you can't rip anything off, there's only 7 notes, and there's a very finite amount of mathematical combinations that are even possible. To start looking at it it's not original because there's a piece of this or that in there.
Start with ripping off the best.
Right.
And see where that takes you. I mean, it's like if you need to rip something off, that's what you do. And usually 9 times out of 10, it comes out something different. But you can definitely say, I got this for you. I'm just continuing it's a river, and we're continuing it into it.
So, I'm just having such a good time chatting. I'm forgetting the questions I had for you guys.
This is great. This is because we wanted, as we said before, we talked about this. Is I got so much. We want to bring Brian on. I'll pull back more. You got to just get Chris on to get me not here, and just you and Chris do it. I'll do that.
That's okay.
We'll do it. We have other stuff coming, and it's we're so excited that we want to talk about this stuff, and because there is just something I know you're getting involved more and more with it. I've always believed this could be a movement in terms of reigniting interest in comics and away from Disney, Marvel, big. Let's get back down to the ground level. Why did we love this to begin with? Sort of a deconstruction, reconstruction exercise. So,
I was on Facebook a while back, and I think it was Joe Woes, and this is going back a year, possibly more. He made a comment on what if we started doing public domain prints instead of mainstream character prints for shows? How do you think it would work out?
Yeah.
And I did a few, and for me, it didn't work out well at all. But I think if more people do them.
Well, you just got to get your stuff known by the audience more.
Yeah.
It's like funny, see, that's the problem is it's just a patchwork of things. Yeah. I'm working with, I have somebody here locally who's a very well-known celebrity that I want to bring into a situation with it. There are people that had no idea who he was. All because, and it had nothing to do with him. We're all in our own little bubbles and worlds around some of these things. That's what's in the public. If you started pinning that on, have you put any of that stuff on? I haven't seen. Did you put any of that stuff on the public domain page?
I haven't put stuff recently, but I used to post once in a while on that.
Just do it regularly because they're rabid. Yeah. Everybody wants to see new stuff there. And
I got some.
Aren't you doing something for us? Wait a minute.
I am. I haven't had a chance. I know you wanted me to do something for this weekend, and I'm gonna see if I can knock something off. But
well, it's up to you, Michael. But anyway,
no, it's my schedule to sit down to do it. I got a few gigs. I got a few gigs I'm trying to finish right now.
But I'm just saying that if you want the audience to see your work, and you want to show your own version of the Blue Beetle or something, there's more than a willing group of rabid people that want to see that.
Yeah.
They actually, and it's nice. It's the diversity is. When I say diversity, most of what I'm seeing is a lot of people doing prestigious, but occasionally you get these creators that bounce off this stuff and are making, really weird, exciting.
Yeah. Well, for those who aren't aware of what I do, I usually do very humorous takes on stuff, silly, very animated based. Hanna-Barbera, Looney Tunes, sometimes even Ren and Stimpy, like if I'm in the mood for that. So I just kind of go for some silliness. My humor influences are Sergio Aragonés, of course. I mean, I'm a huge Sergio
I see that
fan.
very much.
Yes.
Which is a good influence.
Thank you. The man, people, Don Martin, then comic strip artists, obviously. I love, like, the clean line of, like, Mort Walker that he did, and Dick Brown, and Hagar the Horrible, which is Dick, and now his son, Chris. But, BC, like the Johnny Hart stuff.
Oh, God.
All those.
Oh, my God.
All those things I just
Funny,
love.
that stuff. Johnny Hart was Wizard of Ed.
Yeah, those things are fantastic. So, like, I go to those, even though, it's like Peanuts is, one of the number one strips. If somebody says, what are your influences, usually say Charles Schultz and Bill Watterson, which I add to the list. But, yeah, you have to. But I'm like, oh, my God, let's look at, can we talk BC? Have you ever seen, and I'm blanking on the artist's name. Oh, God, it's down at the bottom, but Kingaroo.
Who?
Kingaroo.
Not familiar.
Hold on, let me get the book. I might have to take my headsets if I can't reach.
I'm a George Harriman nut. Crazy Cat.
Oh, yes.
The original Crazy Cats are works of art. Those giant. And Chris, you're on this with me. Is like, just from a art historian point of view, it's just, they're spectacular. And I think there's college courses taught on Crazy Cat. Just the love triangle, and how he basically made, it's like Roadrunner, where this extraordinarily simple plot was stretched out for 30 years or something.
I still think that might be the best cartoon of all time. I don't know. It's hard to. As hard as the characters for me, but you gotta love the Coyote versus the Roadrunner.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Oh, this is what I was talking about. Kingaroo, Jack Kent.
Oh, I've seen. Oh, yeah.
I love this stuff. Just the simplicity.
Is that European? Is it American or is it European? Is that European?
It's American.
Okay.
It's American.
It reminds me of European stuff.
Sure. Pretty sure it's American. Yeah. But Kingaroo, I love this stuff. And if volume 1 wasn't so expensive right now, I'd be purchasing it. But this is the type of stuff I love doing, and I love looking at. So I do have some public domain.
We're looking forward to your contributions.
Thank you. I will be. I promise you, I will be doing stuff. I just got a couple of freelance gigs I got to finish up by certain times.
It's up to you. Whenever you choose.
Oh, I will be. I will be. I'm trying to write daily.
You did a great. Actually, you have a black bat.
I can put that one. I'm happy to put that one up.
Yeah, let's do that one. Why don't we do the black bat?
I'll put that up.
You zeroed in on his ambiguous, possibly ambiguous status as a trademark character.
Yeah,
which is great. Actually, when we made him as an action figure, it's one of the reasons we're doing it again. It was probably the best-selling action figure I ever did. And one of them, other than Commander X and Sea Ghost, and it was because I believe the collectors, the action figure collectors, were also comic fans that had quit comics.
Okay.
And liked comics, but wanted to. So this was a real conversation piece for them. To get that, and it was well made. It looked China made because we were luckily using parts that were all China. There was no, what I call it, real, customizing where you're painting, for that one figure. Everything there is kind of looks mass produced, well packaged, and then it has a provenance to it, and then this really cool story of how could this character simultaneously exist with Batman. So. You're going back to choose characters. Like we're doing Airboy. That's one of these other ones where we're hoping. We have no idea how it's going to go, but there's a name recognition there, and luckily the head that we're using was never designed to be Airboy, but it works. So it was low-hanging fruit, and that's how the toy companies created a lot of this, especially Mego, made these characters, was using low-hanging fruit. And from the collector, there's people who are going to, if you're into Todd McFarlane and all that kind of stuff, that's not what we're doing. This stuff, the people are getting this because of its nostalgia quality. The fact that it looks like it would be something from 1972, and then a little better. So.
I'm going to share. I'm just going to share my black bat with you guys real quick, so people can see. Yeah, I got it on my computer.
Your drawing of the black. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to share. I'm going to share that because I don't know, Chris. I don't know if Jay shared it with you, but this is kind of what I'm.
Yeah, I was going to wait till you inked it, but I was like, yeah, there we go.
Oh no, I'll link it up this week.
See the pressure I put.
No, I need something to do. Like my day job ended. I'm in the process of looking for something.
You got nothing to explain to me, man. I got to go to work after this.
And here, you were telling me also about the. I got to switch it over here. That you are, using the American Crusader, not American Crusader, Super American.
So yeah, Super American we're using. Yeah, thank you for remembering that.
Yeah, so I was playing with that.
He looks great.
Thanks.
Fantastic. Yeah, and you're using the original Super American costume.
Yeah. And
we have a redesign, but he's in the originals tied into the storyline that we're going to want to do together. And we'll finish that one, will you?
I'll finish both up, before the weekend's over and send them to you.
Well, you don't have to by the weekend, but I mean,
No, but I need something to do during the day. So while I like to do warm-up stuff or just do one picture a day before I get into my actual work. So
when we initially talked about this, Michael, you've seen the Fred Hembeck thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Chris, so this is why I'm saying, like, you can get on Michael on nagging to come with stuff that you'd like him to do for the weather. Because I think having the Fred Hembecky stuff is great. And we talked about artists we love, like Chris Giarusso and stuff like that. I love to. He's one of the first people I would hire. Actually, we had can bring in some artists on some different projects.
Yeah, I got a Dr. Fady did right over. I don't know if you can see.
Oh yeah, nice.
So,
yeah, there you go. So
and I actually got a Hembeck Dr. Fade over there. Dr. Fade's my favorite.
But you've got the ground floor of this. This is yours. You're our comeback. You're our.
I will be doing stuff as soon as this weekend's over, probably. I have, like I said, I just need to finish a couple.
Well, we're just
projects.
getting started too. Just to keep in mind. Remember, that's part of what we're doing here. Is like we're gonna Heroes for Heroes. I guess is coming up soon. Is going to be launched soon. Right now, the links we gave you can definitely check out. The posters available and the reprint books that Chris has had up for a while are all there, and you can start. Have people been watching us? Have we had an audience?
We have some. I get. I to be honest, on Tuesday nights, it seems all my friends have shows on Tuesday nights, so we tend to.
It's a weird night to do, and it's a heat wave. So I was like,
yeah, I know. I actually just bought. It's not working great, but it works to start. I bought one of those tabletop, like what they call air conditioners, but they're just like cooling fans. You fill like water in it and ice cubes. But I need some because my studio doesn't have AC.
Oh.
And when I do these, because where I live in a co-op. I'm only allowed 2 ACs, so that's living room and bedroom.
Yeah.
So during the day, my studio door is open, but when I record. So my cat doesn't come in, or if my wife is watching TV or something, I close the door. So this thing needs to be right on top of you. It's not the greatest, but it's definitely doable when I'm leaning like this in my Cintiq and it's on me. It's okay.
Well, I was wondering anyways if anybody had questions, because I usually do.
Our audience isn't super large tonight. I'll tell you right now, I go up against like 3 of my friends. I start at 8:30, they start at 9. So
I think some assassinations have to take place. We have to.
I tend to actually get a lot of my viewers overnight, like people rewatching. So I'll wake up to quite a lot of views.
We'll viralize.
Let's hope so.
Well, plus as we said, we have like another. This is a series of 9 shows.
Yeah. Well, yes, I will be. I do plan to bring you guys back, both solo and together, hopefully with other people.
Well, the 2 gadabouts we're going to get, and I'll shut up more and more, but we're going to get Brian Augustin.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Augustin I don't know if you guys are familiar, met him yet.
I've never met him, but I know of him.
Okay. Brian's been one of the most generous, just a good man, just a mensch. Okay. And to know somebody like that who I admire so much as an artist, he wrote Gotham by Gaslight, which is one of my top 10 comics I've ever read. And what he did with The Flash is legendary. To this, everything you're going to see in The Flash, and he invented the Speed Force. I mean, but what's amazing about Brian, besides being a great creative artist, is that, and it's such a nice, pleasant person, is his stories. There's going to be, you have so many stories to pick from him, and he knows, from an editorial point of view, was Julie Schwartz. He has got the Julie Schwartz stories down, which I'm sure he will not tell you within. He's a gentleman. He'll tell you all the good stories, but it's no. It's interesting because he knows a lot about DC Comics when DC was still had. Like, for instance, he was one of the last editors that understood and was taught how to do the 8-page format, like an 8-page story. Yeah, which is sort of a key thing. DC Comics, everything they did, especially the war books, sci-fi books, genre books. Which is something that we're doing ourselves. That's why it's so great to learn from him. And the other guy who you're going to love to talk to is Paul Clark, and that's Doc Migo. He's our supplier for Migo. And what's amazing about him, besides the Migo stuff, is that they do a huge amount of licensing. So he's a great guy to talk to how sausage is made.
Well, I'm happy to have them all on. Bring everybody on. We'll do a group chat, do solos. I'm totally fine with all that. I actually got a couple of great shows coming up in a few weeks, but I'd love to bring you back at the end of the month. Whether it's both of you, one of you, someone else.
Well, I think when we do Heroes for Heroes, what we could do is we could get the four of us, and I'll do my best to pull back. I will anyway. I mean, you can. The question, having those guys there, I think everything will be pretty organic anyway. So, again, I just want to say how proud I am to be able to do this and to have the team of people doing it.
Oh, number one, I think it's a fantastic thing you're doing, both of you. Number two, I'm happy that I have the ability to be part of it. I just got to sit down and put the stuff together.
That's your problem. We don't want to hear it.
That is my problem.
That's a you issue. We don't. But
it
no,
will be. It will. Yeah. No. It will be.
You got two done. You got two. I mean, you're just gonna.
Well, I got to write the jokes. So I mean, it's writing. What I want to do, and I was going to talk to you guys off air about this, is really I just kind of want to get some idea of what you're doing story wise. So maybe I can write jokes kind of based on what you're doing. And
I think playing on what you're already starting though, where you're playing off the character's own notoriety or what they are is good too. Because it's basically Fred Hembeck did a lot of tuna jokes with Aquaman.
Yeah. So.
We're not going to be that deep. It's like I liked what you're doing with Black Bat. I think because that's where I think the people who've never heard of the character are going to have your sort of the assumption where you're taking.
I looked at so many different references. I'm like, what reference do I pull? And that was, that's what I went. But
I'm talking about the idea of him.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying is because like when we talked, you said, well, yours has points on his head.
Well, the visual, we changed it slightly visually to get the ears, but that had to do with, again, we won't get into why that one, then too much information. But no, but your interpretation of his status, trademark-wise, seemed to be the humor, right?
Yeah.
So that's I love that. That's a great take. I think that's a really good take. I mean, we're using Airboy too.
Yeah, I have a design for Airboy. I made him a kid just because of the name Airboy, and I know that Airboy kind of grew actually in the comics. He started kind of as like a kid and thing.
Valkyrie, he's with a woman with a giant cleavage.
Really?
Yeah. Oh no, and then Chuck Dixon took the character. So the character the Tim Truman stuff, I mean, it's a whole other thing when you get into where it was taken.
Mhm.
Also, when you look at the comics, they're very controversial. Some of them are very racist and very just just red-eyed warmonger stuff going on with some of the stuff. But the Heap is in there,
Yes.
and there's some Heap stories that graphically and story-wise are just perfect.
Well, I gotta say, when you told me, I did do a few Heap illustrations as well, just for fun.
Well, you can't go wrong doing the Heap. Okay.
And
so,
I got a very, I think a very fun take on him that I can't wait to show you when I'm ready to
does he have
show
a carrot for a nose?
No, but he's. This is what I will say. I'm very much treating him at the moment like Gossamer from the Looney Tunes characters, from the Looney Tunes cartoons. So so I looked at him.
Does he have sneakers?
I did on one drawing. I did sneakers. Other drawings I didn't do the sneakers on, but I did.
I like that take.
So I looked at him like, this is Gossamer, and
see, I'm still obsessed with he's the Red Baron.
I
don't know what to fully do with it because I love it so much. I just think it's crazy because under all that shag, he's enemy ace. You know what I mean? So it's like there's something about it. It's just in fact, I was looking at some of the artwork the other day because I love. That's my I just want to draw like Morton Eskin and Charles Bureau, you know, and maybe that's the thing we're working with Chris is eventually I will. I'll have and get paid to do it. I can't. That would be my maybe heaven for me. More Bureau, Jay. Less you, more Charles Bureau. That would be. I'd rather hear that than most of the other stuff.
Oh man. I think we're gonna need to wrap it up for tonight.
Sure.
If you guys want to hang out backstage for a minute, but before you do, I want to thank you both for coming on. I do want you back. I want to talk more about this project that you're doing. I just want to see so much stuff coming out.
Hopefully, we lit a spark here. You know, people can check it out because there's definitely more to come.
Yes.
And what's nice is that both Chris and I have had there's a footprint already. And now we're building off of that. Yeah,
I think it's gonna. You guys are doing something really great here. I think we're gonna see some great stuff come out of this. And the plans that you have, what you've told me, kind of privately, with some of the stuff you've added on here, I think you're heading in the right direction for something fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And I will be sending you stuff as soon as, hopefully next week I'll get a couple of things out of me because I'm excited to work with these characters and play around. I already have ideas floating around in my head. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I won't share anything right now on out there publicly.
Well, we got to get the public excited. Now they can come in, and what I really like is your audience can see that we've got spoilers.
Yes.
If they tune in.
Yes, and they will. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. This is on 3 different social media sites, and like I said, I usually get a lot of views more overnight after the show ends, mostly because a lot of my viewers are the same that watch my friend shows, so people bounce back and forth. And
I just think it's good to know that when we're on, they're going to know that they're going to learn how sausage is made.
Yes. Yes.
We're going to get into sausage making.
I'll rent a wood chipper again for the next show as well.
Is it?
I don't know. We just started outside. It's been quiet by my house all day until we started this, and then so we just turned on a wood chipper outside.
You're on the West Coast, right?
Yes.
So for you, it's only what, like 7 o'clock?
Yeah, 6 o'clock, 6:30.
Yeah, so that would be right now for us it's 10. That would be a weird time for a wood chipper to start coming on.
Not with my neighbors.
Yeah, I'd be worried. I'd actually be. I live in a complex here. If I heard a wood chipper at 10 p.m., That would scare me.
Fargo. Yeah, it's like Fargo.
Anyway, guys, I'm going to drop you backstage.
Rear Window. It's like Rear Window, actually. You're in New York. Yeah, it's like Rear Window. Yeah, I just got to remind New Yorkers a Rear Window in the summer. We'll watch Rear Window again.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to. Anyway, you guys, thank you for coming on. Thank you for doing what you're doing. If you want to hang out backstage for a minute, I'm happy to chat offline. You guys, fantastic. I love it. So thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, let me get to the right screen here. All right, so you guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We are coming back with this hopefully at the end of July, in August too, maybe September, maybe once a month, twice a month, who knows. They got a lot of stuff going on. We'll be bringing them back. We'll be talking about this because not only do I really believe in what they're doing, I'm just a public domain fan, and I think it's important that we got so many great characters out there that people need to know about, and that we have so many more stories that we can tell than just the traditional Superman or Spider-Man characters that everyone knows. There's other characters to get excited about, and you guys need the opportunity to see them. So don't forget to go to publicdomaincomics.net. You can get the poster of Jay's over there. You could go to, and don't forget to go to the Art of Jay Piscopo. Also, what was the other one on Facebook he had? Golden Age, I think it was called Golden Age Heroes. Let me see right here. Golden Age Heroes. And, go like and, Golden Age Comic Book Heroes. Go like and subscribe to that. Got a lot of great stuff. Next week, I got a really, really great guest for you animation fans out there. I am having, and I don't even need to run down his list of credits, because if you don't know who this guy is just by his name in the animation world, you probably shouldn't be an animation fan. I'm having Tom Cito come on next week, and I'm super excited to talk to Tom. His work's been everywhere. He's been doing this for decades. And he teaches. This guy knows his stuff, man. I can't wait. I'm super excited to talk to him. So anyway, guys, I will see you next week. You guys have a great rest of your night, and stay safe. Bye.